What's up guys, Coach Az back again with another video. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. There is not an awful lot of equipment reviews on YouTube for martial arts equipment. So it's very difficult to know what's good, what's bad, where should you spend your money, where can you save your money. So I was going to just do an equipment review, but I thought even better than that, let me compare two of the same item at two different price points. So the budget option and then the more expensive option, and weigh out some of the pros and cons. So this week we are going to do head guards, okay? On the left side or your right side, I don't know, whichever way you're going to see this, is the Blitz dipped foam head guard, okay? This, I believe, retails for around 30 UK pounds at the moment. That's the retail price. Wholesale, you probably get it a bit cheaper. And on the other side, I've always said this wrong and I haven't checked it, so if I say it wrong, correct me in the comments. The top 10 Headguard. Maybe. And I believe this now retails for around £80 UK. And again, you could probably find it a bit cheaper. You can definitely find them more expensive if you go for some of the limited edition color options on this one. So dramatically different prices and actually quite a different product as well in terms of what they look like. So this is how we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down by value proposition, by build quality, and by performance, how well they perform at their given task. So let's get straight into it. All right, guys, so starting with value. So as I said, the Blitz Headguard is around 3 times cheaper than the top 10 Headguard. So for the price of one of these, you can have 3 of these. So it's safe to say that the Blitz one wins in terms of bang for your buck, because at the end of the day, they're both a head guard, they both go on your head. So up to a certain point, you would say it's the much more value-based option. However, when we think about value, we've got to think about all the other things, which is why the next section will obviously be the build quality. But before I get onto the build quality, one more thing on the value. It's really important, in my opinion, with equipment to buy as good equipment that you can afford, but any equipment is better than none. So if you can't afford a top 10 head guard, but you don't want to be cheap and buy the Blitz head guard, don't then just not get a head guard and spar without one. Okay, if let's say that this is better, this is still better than nothing by a long way. I'd rather see you in this than not wearing a head guard at all. In fact, in my school, you don't have a head guard, you don't spar. We don't let you get hit in the head anyway. The build quality, these are two very differently made products. So I'm going to go through the main features of each one and explain effectively why they cost what they cost. And then you can try and make up your own mind about whether or not you think it's worth the money. So starting with the Blitz, this is what's called a dipped foam. So the way these are made is, just imagine your typical foam. So this is a foam tiered, and then it's been dipped or submerged in this PU material that effectively hardens once it dries, okay? So this is basically a sponge. So think of this as a sponge. It's very squidgy to the touch. It's about a centimeter and a half thick all the way around, with some extra padding and holes, effectively gaps, for the ears on either side, okay? It covers the side of the head, the back of the head, the top, and here, and obviously air holes for ventilation all the way around. It's got a Velcro strap that is attached on one side, as in stitched in, and then attaches onto the other side, okay? If you've done any striking martial art, you're probably familiar with a similar one to this. This isn't specific to Blitz because there's 100 different brands of these that are basically the same thing, give or take, in terms of how they are made. The top 10 one, this is molded. So this is not a foam that has then been dipped. This is a material that's been effectively squeezed into a mold and allowed to set, which has created what this is. And I assume that the color is put in with the mold so that changes as and when they are made. In that sense, it's far more durable than the Blitz one. So the Blitz one, if you wanted to, you could just rip it. Like I said, it's basically a sponge. I have only ever seen one of these get physically torn. And the way it got torn was the guy had it on his head and he took it off this way and he managed to rip a little hole in here. But other than that, I have never seen, and I've seen some pretty beaten up and worn down ones, I've never seen one ripped or cracked open. Again, we've got Velcro straps, but this time we do have two. So we've got one across the back of the head here, which allows you to tighten and loosen it around your head. And then the under chin strap that's got a 2-point hole here, so you can go in, through, and back round. One thing I will say, and this kind of links back to the value, is with these, you can buy replacement Velcros. So these come off, it's just double-sided on this end, and same for this one. And you can purchase the Velcros individually, and I believe they're about £10. So like I said, I've seen very beaten up, very old head guards, and if your Velcro wears out, instead of having to buy a new head guard, you can probably get away at least once or twice with just replacing the Velcros and giving this a good clean. So although this might be cheaper to buy initially, realistically this one will probably last you far, far longer. I've known these to be used up and broken within months, and that's just the reality of them. They can last a year. It depends how much you spar, the level of your sparring, you know, how rough you are, how well you look after these things. But realistically, this is going to last you an awful lot longer. Now, carrying on with the build quality, I obviously would say that this is a better built product, but you've got to take the price into account, that this is far cheaper. You can't expect it to be made the same as this. But build quality and performance, those are not necessarily the same thing. This is a better engineered product, but does it perform better on the field? That's really, out of all three, value, build quality, and performance, the one we should all be caring about the most, of course, is the performance, because these are to protect you. So which one protects you the best? That's really what it all comes down to. So again, I will start here with the Blitz one. And when it comes to performance, there's a couple of things that you want from a head guard. The first one, which would seem quite obvious, is you want it to stay on your head. The problem with these, when you put it on first and you get your size right, it fits great. They're very comfortable. It's a very soft material. There are space for your ears and it's plentiful. They have a huge variety of sizes. So these go from the tiniest little kid's peanut of a head all the way up to the biggest melon-headed person you know, and everything in between. They come in loads of colors because obviously it's just different dipped foams, and they're not any more expensive for being in a different color. But once these get wet, once you start sweating inside these things, they slip. They move. You get hit and this thing will slide right back off the head. It will spin round and turn. It will come off the front. The solution for this is often to wear some form of a bandana or something that can absorb your sweat underneath the head guard. So you'll see a lot of people, if you watch them at tournaments, they compete with these. They will often wear some form of a bandana to prevent some layer between their head and the head guard. And that does, to a certain extent anyway, certainly prevent the slipping. The other thing is definitely, if you're going to get one of these, go a little smaller in size because they're going to stretch out a little bit. And once you put it on, like I said, once it's sweating, you'd rather it be a bit snug rather than, oh, it's comfortable to wear all day. What are you wearing this for? An hour, hour and a half max? It can be a little bit snug to then have a better fit. Obviously, if it's a kid, you might want to go for the right size so they've got a little room to grow into it. But again, cheaper option. The top 10 head guard does not slip. They're very good, again, with the side strap coming around here and this here. And I don't mean this to sound like an advert for the top 10 head guard, by the way. I'm not trying to come across as biased. I actually supply both of these to my students. This is our value option. This is our premium option. But there's a reason these things cost more, and there's a reason this is used more widely in terms of amateur contact sport. This allows you to tighten it around the head. The mold, especially, I don't know if they changed it in recent years, but this mold in particular, in terms of my head anyway, fits like a glove. The one thing I will say about the top 10 ones, it's definitely something to keep in mind. I assume it's part of the design to help keep it on, but this front ridge on the inside here, it can often dig right into your forehead. And that's with everything feeling like it fits correctly. I assume it's on purpose to kind of create a point of contact so that it doesn't slip on the way up. But often when you see people take one of these off after a long session or a tournament, they'll have quite a deep indent across here. And I've known some people who have expressed that it's painful to the point where like they don't feel like they can wear them. It's probably just got something to do with head shapes. It certainly will have something to do with making sure that you have the correct size. And between you and me, part of it is definitely down to you just being a little bit of a wuss. I think that realistically, it's not that bad. Certainly better than, again, not wearing a head guard. Now, the other side of performance, of course, is does it protect you? Okay, before I answer that question, it's important to understand what a head guard does in terms of offering protection. A head guard does not mean that you can now just take impact to your head. You can get punched as hard as you like, kicked as hard as you like, and nothing's going to happen to you. We're also taking into consideration and assuming that you have a gum shielding. The objective of the head guard is twofold. One is, and this is its main function, this is what people don't realize, is to minimize scratching, bruising, and effectively blunt force trauma damage. So things like your cheeks getting cut open or around your eyes or your ears getting swollen, cauliflower ear, all of this stuff. This is the main thing that a head guard does, okay? Obviously, the other side of that is to try and provide some impact protection. But the way you need to think of it is if I got you a raw egg, which is your head, and think of the yolk as your brain, and I got you to shake it as violently as you can, you could probably shake it to the point of ruining the yolk. If I wrapped that egg in foam and got you to do the same thing, it wouldn't change the fact that you could wreck the egg on the inside. And it's the same. Wearing a head guard is not going to make a dramatic difference to your head being shaken and your brain hitting the walls of your head, which is what happens when we get things like concussion. There's a liquid that surrounds our brain and the brain moves in that liquid, and if it makes contact, even the lightest contact with the sides of our skull, that's where we experience things like headache, concussion, being knocked out, all of that stuff, okay? Par for the course with combat sport, but don't think that wearing either of these or a 5,000 or a 10,000 pound head guard is going to help you. I have been knocked out cold wearing one of these and it had nothing to do with this being defective or not doing its job, okay? What I will say is, and this is subjective, I personally prefer getting hit with one of these. As in, if this was going to stay on my head and not slip, I feel, again subjective, that it hurts less when I get punched in the side of the head wearing one of these than when I wear one of these. However, the big issue is that this does slip. It does move around majority of the time, especially with adults. And although you might absorb the first hit and it'll feel a little better than in this, when you can no longer see or you now have to move your guard to adjust your head guard and you get hit again and again and again, you're going to wish that you were wearing one of these. Again, neither of them make any significant difference, in my opinion, to what it feels like to get punched in the head. I do not recommend you try this at home, but what I will tell you from experience is if someone was wearing a 16-ounce glove and they hit me in my head without a head guard or they hit me in the head with a head guard, the sensation is relatively similar. Yes, there's a difference. Yes, there's a muffling that happens with these things, but it's not significant. So let's go through. I've rambled a little bit there, guys, so I apologize for that. Let's kind of sum this one up. Value. This is at least 3 times cheaper. In terms of kids who are constantly growing and you know they're going to do the sport for a long time, and especially where little kids are going to be doing the lightest form of sparring, and really this is just there for someone to touch. These are great. You know, we sell these to the kids. We don't generally recommend these unless they're competing because they're going to grow out of this and it's an investment and it's an expensive product. As an adult, I openly try not to recommend these. It's a hard sell though with a beginner to tell them to invest £80 in a headguard. They've probably paid to join your club, they're paying their monthly fee, maybe you've got them on a t-shirt, maybe you've got them buying gloves and everything else as well. So to then add to that nearly £100 in a headguard, it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. So will this do the job? Yes, it will. However, I will say if you can afford to, and if you know you're going to stay with the sport for a long time, this is a worthy investment. And even more so in the sense of that, yes, this is far cheaper, but you will need to replace this. Within a year of wearing, especially as an adult, you will need to replace this, and it will cost you another £30. This you will wear for a year without needing to do a thing to it other than occasionally wiping it down, and most people don't even do that. And within a couple of years, you will probably need to replace the Velcro straps. And as I said, you can buy those individually and get a whole another year, 2 years out of it. The only time I ever bought a new one of these is because I was sick of the color. I had a white one and it got really yellow and really worn in, and then I went and bought black. But that white one was still functioning and working absolutely fine. Okay, we did value, and then we did, I forgot what the second one, build quality. Again, it ties in with value. This is fine for what it is and what it's priced at realistically, but you cannot change the strap. So once this Velcro goes, it goes. This does have the potential to tear because it is just foam, and within time, this is gonna wear down and this is gonna loosen as you wear it. But it's fit for function, and again, with little kids, this is probably all you're going to need. This is a far better built product. I will go as far as saying that sometimes I do believe these are a little overpriced. I think considering how long they've been around without changing, and yet the price continues to only increase without them making any further improvements to the product, I think realistically these could probably have gone down a little in price, or at least stayed where they were at. These started, I think, at 45 and are now nearly double that for effectively the exact same product. But it is a good product, it is well made. It does not offer that much more protection, in my opinion, this is very subjective, don't sue me top 10, than any other headguard. What I will say though is, if you go to Taekwondo tournaments, there'll be a brand with this type of headguard, and that's the official equipment. If you go to a kickboxing tournament or a different type of Taekwondo tournament, this will be the official headguard of that tournament. Everyone will be expected to wear this or a variant of this in it. So they got accreditation, you know what I'm trying to say, in terms of being a decent product and being used by many, many people across many different disciplines. And finally, performance. Like I said, this will slip off your head, especially as an adult. You can mitigate that by wearing some form of a bandana. This will probably hold and stay in position better. I think you probably know the conclusion. If you're on a budget, or if it's for a kid and they're doing very light contact, these are just fine, and don't worry too much about the brand. They're all basically the same, so just see how good a value you can get when buying one of these. However, if you are an adult or if your child competes and if you really are committed to it, I highly recommend investing in a slightly better product. Now, obviously, there are hundreds of different headguards and other brands that I haven't included today, so do your research, look into it more. I will try to review more products like this in the future. If you enjoyed this video, if you've stuck around this long, well done. Let me know what you'd like me to review next, what I'd like to compare next or give my opinion on. Drop it in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one.